What's going on, Pixel Hackers? Christian here with PixlFeed, and I'm today, episode 3. I'm with my friend Jeff Minnichbach. I almost butchered it, like people butcher my last name. So I know how your daily life goes when you're giving away your last name to other people and growing up. Did you have the problem that I had when you were in school? And the first day they're going through the list of people, and then all of a sudden the teacher just stopped, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm here."
That's me. Yeah,
that was my whole life, man.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, awesome, man. So first of all, thank you so much for doing this with me. I know we've never met in person, but we've run through the same groups, the same people. We're in the same circles, I guess you could call it. For those of that don't know who you are, you're the founder of No Limit Creatives.
Yes.
You've been doing that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wanted to bring you on, because I was, being in, with Facebook advertising and just digital media in general. I told this to Phil Caprano, who was in the last podcast. He specializes on Facebook like I do. And, when I started a YouTube channel and the podcast, it was all going to be, niche down, all Facebook, right? But everything's changing so fast, man. And AI it's making it so easy in the future for people to be able to do a lot of what we do.
Right.
I was telling people, I tell people all the time, I'm like, it's not going to be so much about the tweaking and the optimizing and CBOs and regular ad sets. And, it's all going to be done for you at one point. So as you know, you're ahead of the curve, obviously. Creatives, I think it's going to be the future, what's going to drive a lot of your sales and conversions, besides the product and the offer, obviously. So, well, first I want to get started. Let's talk about you. Give me a little bit about your background, how you grew up. Let's start there. Do an entrepreneurship journey, I guess you could call it. Because we all have one, and then we'll take it from there.
That's right. So yeah, I've always been a creative mind, always into design and art, and every year of school from first to 12th grade was in art at some point. And at a young age, kind of got into that entrepreneurial mindset. I think before my teens, and I was doing a lot of stuff for neighbors, house sitting, pet sitting, watering plants, detailing cars, mowing grass. It was just a constant hustle.
That was me, yeah.
It was never that I needed to do that, because I had a very comfortable life growing up, but it was something I truly enjoyed and just loved that hustle. So right after high school, I got into kind of experimenting with different kinds of designs and things like that I could do for small businesses. And I fell into Craigslist and that crazy world. And,
well, you're alive, so that's good.
Yeah. I didn't have to meet any crazies on there, but one thing I noticed there was that they had these small business sections, and businesses could advertise there and put out custom graphics.
What year was this? Do you remember?
This was probably like 2005, 2004. Okay. And, back in the day, they could basically do like some simple text posts, a couple of graphics here and there. And I would actually cold email people and say, hey, I saw your ad. I could do a custom graphic for you that would make you stand out on the news feed. Because at the time, when you scroll through listings, anybody that had a graphic, you would see that thumbnail. And that
Are you talking about? No, you're not talking about the Facebook. No, Facebook used to be Craigslist. Okay, I was gonna say, because Facebook didn't launch. I think it was 2000. Well, it didn't become popular until like 2007. I think it was.
I didn't even get on Facebook till 2011, I think, and I was behind the times then. But Craigslist always had these little thumbnail images that would stick out in this feed. So I started to quickly see if I could make these custom graphics for people. Not only would they stick out right away, but then when they click on them, they can get all this information in a single graphic rather than having to read 3 and 4 paragraphs of text. And then from there, I kind of blossomed into the freelancing world on Upwork and Elance and bidding on design jobs. And I built up a customer base there and did over 1,000 jobs in like 2015 or 2016, and started to carry people over into this No Limit Creatives business where we're at now. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell. It's a lot longer and more headaches and stuff involved than what I've said, but it's been an awesome ride, and it's really cool to see where I've started and look back, 10 years, 15 years ago, at these Craigslist graphics I was making, and then where we're at now.
I feel like, okay, so the reason I got into marketing was because I had my first quote unquote real business when I was like 23, and it was brick and mortar. So after that's when I started like dipping into marketing because I needed to bring business, and it was just, door to door sales and cold calling that could only go so far. I was trying to find new ways to do it. And I found out, after the economy crashed and all that, I took off, I think it was a year. Yeah, it was a year or something like that. And then started working with this company who did marketing. And then I left and started my own trade show display company. And that's when I started hiring designers and stuff like that, to create the designs for the trade show displays.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed just from talking to designers, man, it's like, I think you guys are so underrated and like underpriced. Like, I mean, you know what you're doing, obviously, but I'm talking about like they devalue themselves for some reason, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, especially back then, 2005, 2006, even 2010, it's not like kids now where they grow up with Photoshop. You got to have skills to be able to do this stuff. It's not just copy paste and here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, how do you feel about, because it happens, when I was dealing with small businesses, even, people that deal with small businesses with advertising, with Google, PPC or Facebook ads and all that stuff, they think that you're just like, oh, here, I'll pay you. We need somebody who knows SEO, Google AdWords, Facebook, who can do video editing, Photoshop, blah, blah. We'll pay you $30,000 a year. It's like, whoa.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah,
you have a team, obviously, and you know how it is.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to undervalue people. And I know as a freelancer, it was just part of the way you had to get business was to be competitive in pricing, and you're competing with people that overseas can charge $2 an hour to do the same quality and same speed that you can. So when I got into those freelancing websites, I really had to drop my pricing just to build up a customer base. But after that, and kind of establishing myself, my reputation, and then being able to see what I'm capable of, I was able to slowly start to increase those prices over time. And had people that were dedicated to me and kept coming back. But I think we're definitely undervalued. And I just did a post on Facebook today to show what truly goes into like a Photoshop manipulation job that one of our designers did. And it's a 3-minute high-speed time-lapse video, but that probably took over an hour just to do these Photoshop details that somebody wanted. And I think people just really don't have any idea what is involved in design. They think move some pieces here, copy and paste, write some text, and you're done. But there's a lot to it, especially with print stuff like you did. I've done trade show things, and you have to know print specs and bleeds and color modes and resolution. And there's a lot more to it than just design. You have to know the print specs and everything like that as well. So it's pretty involved.
Yeah, I always told my clients, it's like 300 DPI. If it's not 300 DPI, don't even bother.
Right,
because I learned my lesson when I lost thousands of dollars. Because once it's printed, it's done. There's and if I fucked up, the right thing to do is to give the money back. I messed up. It was my fault. And I did that and learned that the hard way when I was starting out. So, I learned that very quickly. It's like 300 DPI minimum vector files,
Right.
So, all right, cool. So let's talk about, so you started freelancing, and then you decided to go on your own and start your own team. So let's talk about, because a lot of people that are listening to this, either learning Facebook ads or being a freelancer, or they already have an agency, or they're watching on YouTube trying to learn where to do like kits or whatever. So, how did you get started? How did you, did you just, obviously you were doing the freelancing. So, as a hustler, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I hate using that word, but it's the truth. You just said, you know what, I'm going to turn this into like a real business. So what was the thought process, and how did you get started, by doing that?
The reason I did this, and I didn't even know that these kind of subscription-based design companies existed prior to this, but the one thing that I struggled with as a freelancer was keeping these customers coming back, and the reason was the price. I mean, I would charge per project, like a fixed rate job, and that gets really expensive really quick when you're a small business on a budget. So I would typically do a few jobs, and even like TrueCar, I was working for TrueCar for a while doing creatives for them. And it just got to the point where they either couldn't afford to keep something going. They're a big company, but they only going to spend so much on a single ad campaign, and I was charging too much for it to make sense. So I'm thinking, well, how can I increase my lifetime value of these customers and still work with them on a budget? So I came up with this model of just lowering the prices, but making it a subscription. So they were able to afford me longer, and I was actually able to keep them on a lot longer as a customer for me. So lowering those prices was making me less each month, but over time, because they were with me longer, I was actually making more than what I would have typically made if I was just charging by the job. So I started that up, and then I started emailing these customers and letting them know, hey, I'm going to start No Limit Creatives. We will be able to handle all your graphics and video needs for a low monthly rate. And it just kind of took off from there. And I started getting referrals and those customers telling people about us. And it's kind of snowballed into where we're at now. And we have almost 100 employees. We're generating 7 figures annually in our second year, and several hundred customers. So it's been all referral based so far, but that's kind of why I established this business and idea. And then we're going to finally start hitting up the marketing this year.
That's awesome. So when you were growing, what was the because I call it growing pains. I think everybody else calls it.
Oh yeah.
Too. So what was the thing that, I guess, that was like I call it the rude awakening, when you were just like, because I come from a sales background. So for me, sales is first, everything else is second. Sell it first, figure out later, right? Now, I'm not saying go start a Facebook agency and then go in one of the groups and be like, how do I run ads? No, don't go that. I'm talking about, when you know what you're doing,
right.
If you don't have the manpower to do it. So like, what was your biggest growing pain that still to this day was like, oh, I wish like I would have known what I know now, so I wouldn't have to go through that type of deal? Or
I've told people before, I'm not really experienced businessman. So there's a lot of things about a business that I didn't know about. And I'm a designer. I design. That's what I do. That's what I know. So getting into this model and trying to figure out how to be profitable and how to price things and how to hire and what do I pay these people, there was a lot of unknowns for me. And I think the biggest issue has always been hiring. It's always been trying to find the next best person to bring on our team. And we've always grown really quickly and always been kind of a step behind in the hiring. So we had to work on a lot of processes and procedures to kind of streamline this business and the service. And we now know, like at a certain point of our profit margins, when we hit a certain number, we know that we're going to need to hire somebody else again because we're getting too much in the positives. So we want to try to stay like around 50% profit margin. And if we start going over that, then that typically means we're stressing out our designers. They're getting overloaded with work, so we need to bring on somebody else for the amount of designers we have per however many customers it is. But that was one thing that really, once we figured out our little numbers and profit margins and when we need to hire, that's what started to get us ahead, because we've always been struggling with getting enough help to take care of everybody.
Right. And then like as of now, or when you started, was it e-com or agencies? What would you say? Have you seen a shift like from where it started to what it is today? Like what would you say? I mean, I do have the data for your stuff. So, what do you see? It's like your biggest chunk of customer base, I guess you could call it.
Ad agencies right now are who we work with primarily, and you're in a lot of the groups that I'm in. They happen to be ad related and marketing agencies, so that's kind of why we got the bulk of our customers that they're agencies from those groups. But we have seen just in the last 6 months, e-com is going crazy, and we're getting tons of drop shippers and tons of personal e-com brands that are just started up their first year and things like that, and we're trying to help them with assets. And it's definitely shifting into a lot of e-commerce stuff, and we've seen that trend over the last 6 months, and it's gotten more and more and more. We brought more people on board almost every month for that industry. So I think just with the opportunities there are now online to be a drop shipper and, source products from China and slap your logo on them. I mean, it's really becoming a common thing. So we've definitely seen that. And agencies, we have a great model for agencies, but a lot of times they need so much volume that it sometimes makes sense to just hire an in-house team that you guys have dedicated to your company. But we've definitely seen that shift for e-commerce.
So let me ask, so people know out there, so a lot of people who watch this channel, it's e-com. So let's what's the process like? Let's say I hire you guys and I have this product, or I'm thinking about sourcing this product, I'm slapping my logo on it. Now I need to make it look awesome in my ads. So what's the process when you bring me on board? Like, what is that process like?
Typically they'll come in and they've already got assets. So they've already got product shots for photos or some video footage from a, supplier or something like that. They'll put in requests. If they want ad creatives, they'll let us know what platform, social media site they want ads for. Here's some text we want to go in our graphic. Here's our product shots. And then we do the rest from there. So we'll come up with all the creatives and ideas for them. With basic assets, we can typically cut out products from backgrounds and then superimpose those into our own different designs and ads. So it's a really straightforward process. There's not a lot to it. And there's not a lot of hand holding, but it's basically, here's what we need, go run with it and come back with something cool. So that's our objective, is just to try to help them with unique design ideas that we're not putting out for every single person, because, like I do, drop shippers tend to use the same photos from the suppliers all the time. So there's there's not really any uniqueness there. So we try to help them by cutting out those products and putting them into new stock photos for backgrounds and things like that, just to give them some, a leg up on the competition.
Dude, when I started, you don't have, listen, you got to differentiate yourself a little bit. If you can't go in there and just use the pictures from suppliers because they're sending the same pictures to a million people.
Right.
Dude, you can build a box with cardboard, and then I don't even know the name in English, but it's like that white.
Yeah, the light box.
What is it?
The light box where you
right, and you just put a light that you can get on Amazon for like $6 or something, or an LED, and that's it, man. Your phone, if you have an iPhone 6 or higher, I mean, I have a new one because mine flew out of a roller coaster last week, but yeah, that's the whole story. So you can just take the product pictures yourself. All you need is a white background, or let's say green, and then you guys can work your magic, right? Even with video.
Yeah, I put out some videos in the past about that, because a lot of people they just feel like they need these professional shots done. And it's like, man, the technology on these new phones is insane. And if you have the right lighting, you can make them look just as good as a camera.
Oh, dude, when I started the YouTube channel, I spent all this money on a camera, right? It's a Sony a6400, and it's awesome camera, don't get me wrong. But then I went from a 7 to the 11, right? Because like I said, I just destroyed my phone. And it's insane. I mean, I know it's not the best phone camera out there, but the pictures that I can take in with this thing and video, if I had this one, I would have probably never bought the camera behind me, and I would just gotten a tripod and started a YouTube channel with this. It's crazy. It's insane. So the technologies there, obviously. So now what's your thought? There's always going to be room for custom and talented people like yourself and everybody that works with you. There's just other services out there. I'm not going to name any names, but you know what I'm talking about, where they have like stock footage, and then it's pretty easy to just slap, whatever you want on top of the video or the picture. And where do you see where everything is shifting towards? Because you can't do that with custom products. You could get away with like generic, ads, I guess.
Yeah.
And I've used it. I'm not gonna lie. I've used it before just to try it, and some of it has worked, but what I see is like it's the same stock footage that you're going to see other people using. So it's going to be like you're not differentiating yourself from other companies. So what's your thought on those? What do you think what's going to be the shift there with those companies?
I mean, I've seen these companies blow up here in the last couple of years, and it's always a little nerve-wracking when somebody like me, who's trying to offer custom designs, is competing with basically a system that can do things 10 times the volume for without anybody involved. So there, like you said, there's always going to be people that just need us and need you as a marketer. They don't want to learn to make videos. They don't want to be a creative genius. They just want to do what they do best. Let somebody else focus on these custom creatives and custom marketing and things like that. But It's definitely a little scary to see those popping up so much, and who knows, eventually we may need to get into something like that. But I think, you're creative or you're not. You're not going to go into a platform and become a designer all of a sudden.
I'm not. I'll be the first one to tell you, like, if you want to work with me, I can get shit done all day long. But if you tell me, hey, Christian, come up with a name or come up with this like cool design, like I know what looks good because I've been doing this for so long. So I can look at something and be like, that looks awesome. Especially, and actually what trained my eye back in the day was the whole trade show business. It's all about branding. And that's what really started, like, open my eyes to design and, and how to do composition and stuff like that. Right.
Yeah.
And, so I can look at it and say that's awesome. It looks great, or it sucks right away. But if you tell me you got to come up, I can't do it, man. I'm just not a creative person. That's why there's people like you and there's people like me. Like I'll get shit done all day long, all the technical aspects of it, processes, systems, blah, blah, blah. But if you ask me to create, the most beautiful ad, even if you give me the templates, I'm like, I just sit there staring at the screen, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you just the creativity is like in you. It's just you're not going to go use another platform and just all of a sudden know what's going to look great. I mean, they're going to be able to follow some guides and templates that they have, drag and drop features, but it's only going to go so far. So even though it's concerning to see that those are becoming so popular, at the same time, there's just always going to be a need for this kind of custom work if you want to be somebody that stands out amongst all the competitors. Like you said, everybody's got access to the same site, the same templates, the same fonts, everything looks the same. So there's really not a lot of uniqueness and creative behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, so let's get to the good part that everybody's waiting for. So moving forward, obviously, I think we both know the future is going to be creatives for sure, because AI is going to do a lot of the legwork. Let's say you're starting out, right? And I just watched this couple of videos with this kid. He's 19 and he's doing crazy amount of sales in Shopify. I'm just like, wow, mind blown. Kids definitely have an advantage growing up with all this stuff. So they've been playing with Photoshop and stuff like that since they were kids, right? And I say kids when I mean, 16, 17, 19, college, that are actually getting started. Like, so what can you tell, to get started, just to get the ball rolling? What can you recommend they do or how they do it when it comes to creatives, where they should be focusing on, what do you recommend for the people that are starting out? What do you think it works best and all that good stuff? What piece of advice you can give them?
I think it's really 2020 is all about the content and native content and just stuff that looks real, that real people are making, not an ad agency or a commercial company and stuff like that. I mean, we've followed the trends over the last few years and have noticed that the types of ads that seem to work really well are ones that are almost amateurish looking, that aren't really polished and put together. And we are not used to that. We're really always thinking about the next cool thing we can design. How custom can we get? How crazy can we get? And it's actually hard to get more simple and do things like that. So it's a challenge in itself, but it's definitely what is trending right now. I think the influencers, getting people to try products out and do reviews and use those in videos is huge right now. And then we do some custom ads that have worked really well graphically, like lifestyle shots, just a lifestyle photo, lay your product down and put some little pieces around it that complement the product and look down and take a shot. And that kind of stuff is working like crazy right now, even just by itself. No text on it, no designs, just a custom staged photo that you could shoot on your phone.
I have an unboxing video that I did myself real quick with my phone just to get it out there. A test for a company that wanted me to do work with them. And I'm like, that's a tough product. I don't know if it's going to work. Let me just do something real quick just to test it out,
Right.
With a PPE campaign. And I literally just grabbed my phone in one hand and I did the unboxing myself. Like I just took it out. It was 15 to 30 seconds, something like that. Blew up, man. It blew up for a $500 product. B2B on top of it, on Facebook, not even B2C, B2B. For those of you that don't know, it's business to business, not business to consumer, which is what works best on Facebook.
Right.
And it just blew up, man. It's amazing what you can do with just one video if you know how to get the right composition or the right shot, but make it look like, hey, I'm just doing this, real quick type of deal.
Definitely, man. People are really resonating with that personal touch in videos. They really can feel like they relate to that person. It's not a high-end commercial that's being shot by an agency or anything like that. So that's video is definitely crushing it, and we're also seeing that short videos are starting to take over now. And even Facebook themselves, they used to recommend 15-second videos. Now they're down to 6-second videos. Now they're saying 3 to 6 seconds, and you only have 1 second to get their attention. So
yeah, right.
It's just crazy to think that people are their attention spans are that short, that you have a second to grab their attention. So when you're making videos and stuff, the first thing you want to think about is, how can I get somebody's attention immediately? How can I stop them from swiping past my ad and going to the next thing? So we're always trying to keep that in mind when we make stuff.
That's awesome. So I've worked with a lot of designers, and I had a designing team when I had the whole trade show deal. Yeah. And what a lot of them did, they will look at quote unquote daily inspiration. So they had all these sites that they will go to and just look at pictures or whatever, just for themselves, because they're all artists, they're all creative people. So do you do anything like that? Or do you guys, do most of your designers have, like, is there certain sites that you guys go to for inspiration, or, anything that you recommend for people to get like their brain going and try to get their mind right, or just if they're starting out, something to give them an idea, or give them, just to give them that inspiration, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, some of us do, some don't, but the Behance website is really good for just seeing all kinds of creatives and from designers all over the world. Dribble's another one, and Instagram. Believe it or not, we follow all Adobe and companies like that on Instagram, and we get ideas all the time from stuff that we see just for inspiration. So I think those few sites are pretty critical.
Have you jumped on TikTok yet? I've had the app for like a year, man, and I open it and then I keep deleting it off my phone for the whole past year, and then I put it back on. I think it was like 2 weeks ago when I launched because I launched the channel or whatever, and I wanted to get creative with it just to get the word out there. And bro, like last night I was on it for like 2.5 hours just scrolling through videos, and it's just like, it's amazing what these kids can do, man. It's just like,
I haven't downloaded it, but I get hit with the ads on Facebook all the time for it. So I've actually been sucked into watching them, and then you swipe and there's the next video from TikTok, and then all of a sudden I'm watching 10 of them. But I've not gotten into it. I guess it's more like a business to consumer thing in terms of advertising. So and I know it's a lot of younger people on.
Oh, it's definitely kids. There's no doubt about it. But I remember when I was a kid in high school, we didn't have any of the stuff we have now, obviously. Yeah. So we did the same stupid shit, but we just didn't have like a 24/7 recording in our hands with special effects and music.
Yeah.
So, dude, but they're so creative. And then you have a platform like TikTok, they have so many special effects, and like, and then something starts trending, and next thing you know, you're down the hashtag black hole. So, I mean, for what you do and your team does, man, I mean, just the creation, inspiration type of, you definitely need to check it out and get some ideas from there, because it's insane. It's insanity. So,
I mean, my 10-year-old niece is on there now and trying to figure out how to use it. So I said, well, I got her, I'm using a light ring right now, and I got her a light ring herself so she can start making cool videos, and, try to tell her to think of something you can do to like inspire people, or that's going to get people to follow you. And then I started showing her hashtags the other night. And I don't know anything about TikTok yet, but I know enough, from the advertising side of that, you throw in some hashtags, and that's how you're going to start to increase followers. And 10 years old, and she's making these crazy videos that look like they were edited by my team, and it's insane.
It's insanity, man. It's insanity. I know you're pressed for time. So first of all, man, thank you so much for hopping on this video / podcast with me. If anybody needs your services, look up No Limit Creatives. Where can they find you? Where they can reach you at? I'm sure everything, but I'll let you take the time.
NoLimitCreatives.com. It's pretty simple, and we've got a live chat on there and everything. You can ask questions, things like that. So
awesome. All right, everybody. That's Jeff Minnichbach.
You got it.
And No Limit Creatives. If you guys need his team, his services, make sure to hit him up. And then thank you so much for doing this, man. And then I guess I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Until the next one.
See ya.